Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn, Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. Is it possible to inspire your customer? It's a very interesting question. Most people would say no, just focus on the affliction, focus on satisfying or solving pain. Don't talk about aspiration, Lynn, but I've got an interesting anecdote and an example I want to share with you right away here on WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Thanks for tuning in. Just a few evenings ago, I had the privilege of attending a concert in downtown Omaha at the Holland Performing Arts Center, and the band has been playing, by the way, with a great deal of energy and precision, and they're called Tower of Power. Tower of Power launched its band in Oakland, California in 1968, and they have been playing funk music for 55 years. I'm very proud of them because really this is a high quality band. There's big brass section and all kinds of instruments, an incredible lead singer, and so it was quite an evening. I'm going to guess there's maybe 3,000 to 5,000 Omahans down there at the Holland Performing Arts Center watching Tower of Power. Now here's the key idea. The concert went on and about hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was a very, like I said before, high energy. Now as you might imagine, in that incredible facility, most of the people that were attendees, because the seats were a little expensive, they might have been in their 50s, 60s, 70s easily. And that was packed, right? Every single seat in the house, the mezzanine, it was all full. At the beginning of the show, there was, it was kind of a sedate audience. They're listening to the music and kind of enjoying it and so on. But as the concert became more intense and it went on and on and on, the attendees became, more caught up emotionally in the group and the music. And of course, many of these songs were classics back in 83, 89, 96, on and on and on. So this was familiar music to many of these people. But nevertheless, this was kind of a conservative crowd, as you would expect here in the state of Nebraska. But I want to share this with you. As they kind of climaxed and got all the way to the end of the show, and I mean, this is a show band in the classic sense, the brass, they're moving back there, the drummers, I got 2 organs, a vocalist that also was a trumpeter and a jazz pianist himself. So these were really well practiced music professionals. So the last song, and this is what relates back to your business, is they're going through the whole thing, and up and down, and people, and of course they had everybody by this time standing up, right? Everybody's standing up and snapping their fingers and dancing, all ages now. I want you to get this in your head. And they wrap up the last 5, maybe 4 or 5 minutes by focusing on a phrase that is kind of their theme, the band's theme, and has been since the very beginning. And that theme is soul power. Soul power, right? That was what they kind of went into a chant mode, and of course the drums are going and people are excited and so on and so forth. But what I saw there was so amazing, because once again they got the lead singer out there and he's going, soul power, right? Now you might think that this is kind of a rhythm and blues thing and really more about soul music, and a lot of these people out in the audience don't seem to be, you wouldn't guess that they were soul or funk devotees, but you would not believe every single one of the people, and I looked around here, and again, these are not young people, most of them, and they are like this, soul power, all right? They're right into it all the way, and they went on and on and on. I'm talking about matronly women in their 70s, soul power. It was an amazing moment because it was really revealed how we want to be connected, in this case to music, but more importantly, more connected to an idea. Now, way back in 1968 when this came out and they were doing this and they were doing Soul Power, that chant at various concerts, I'm sure they were talking about music, soul music, and soul music is great, and soul power and all that. But this particular audience, and we're talking 50, 55 years since then, a lot of these people in the audience were, like I said, older people. And maybe they interpreted the phrase soul power in a different way than they would have in 1968 or 1970. Maybe they saw it as some kind of a commitment or a chant that says, talking about individual power, maybe being inspired by a divine idea, even a spiritual or metaphysical idea, soul power. Very interesting. Don't think that wasn't going through my head and many of the people that were there. They were thinking about their existence. They were thinking about really what it's all about existentially, in a very deep level. Soul power, and it was an amazing thing. That was a mantra, right? Kind of an incredible, maybe a manifesto would be a better way. So, now, what does this have to do with business, right? The question becomes, the standard sales training thing, marketing advocates and training sessions always look for the pain, right? Look for the affliction, look for the problem, get your sales prospect to articulate the problem so that you can kind of figure out how your product or service fits in, right? We can solve that. Thank you for telling me that. I think I can actually help you, blah, 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 whatever it is. Solve the problem. But there is another side, another way to come at it. And of course, that way is to say, you are better than who you think you are. You are really something. With our product or service, you could be the person you really want to be. That's really what aspirational marketing is all about, right? Now, you say, well, I guess that's a pretty good idea, but give me an example. And right off the bat, the first example I can give you is Nike's shoes, right? What do they say? I mean, I can just do it, right? Just do it. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that many, many, many people procrastinate when it comes to, fitness and working out and doing things that are kind of rugged or require a lot of sweat and work and whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, we put it off, we never get around to it. So what did the Nike people say? Just do it, right? The same concept. Don't put it off anymore. Buy our shoes, go do what you've been wanting to do, but just couldn't get around to do it. Now that's a pretty good example of aspirational marketing. And I gotta tell you, for just about every product or service out there right now, it's possible if you'll stop pushing product features and start thinking what's going on in the head and in the heart of our customer, what really motivates them. All right, so there you get my point, thinking about what inspires your customer. What a great thing to think about. Now, before we go into the promotional segment of our show, we want to talk about that. I want to drop a seed, right? I want you to be aware of this incredible information I'm going to be sharing with you. This is research that I promise you do not know about. If you're into advertising, if you, that advertising doesn't work, I don't care about that, I'm not going to get into all that. We don't spend money on that stuff, nothing ever works. If you're that kind of a person, cynical, skeptical, don't really understand why anybody would spend any money on advertising, very common, by the way, that's a very common sentiment. I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to feed it to you real slow, and we'll come back on it after the segment. In the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, a gentleman, a scientist, a data person named William Prentice, he created relationships with 100 companies. 100 companies. And the idea was they would submit to him their advertising campaigns as they were produced and put on the air and distributed and so on. And he would receive them and he would look at the correlation between sales and exactly what the message was and how it was conveyed. He did that for 30 years with 100 companies. And they cooperated because they knew they would learn something and it would help them, increase their effectiveness in advertising. Now, if you'll stick with me to the back end of the show here, I'm going to tell you what William Prentice learned and what you need to understand about your advertising, your marketing, messaging, and so on. It's very, very insightful. And I'm going to plant a little seed and I'm going to let you think about it as we go through this next segment. What if you could say something? Now I'm talking to Creighton University, I'm talking to all kinds of, if you could say something that nobody else could say. Indeed, if you could say something that just fit you, your name or your something, your value proposition, whatever it is, if you could say something nobody else could say, let me tell you, this William Prentice would be high on that. We'll get back to that and we'll talk more about William Prentice in just a minute. All right, welcome to WowBiz Nebraska, the sponsor for this show. It's an unusual show, of course, and we attract some very interesting companies that do very interesting things, particularly in the context of getting customers and so on, but not always. So there's a company right now that addresses a problem that if you're a mayor, if you're a Chamber of Commerce person, an economic developer, maybe a city manager or a planner for a company, community planning is a big thing. And this is very important for you because you are going to be pulled periodically throughout the year into meetings. You'll get a memo from the mayor or somebody saying, meet me at this, do this. We're going to have a meeting to discuss this, this, and this. We have to figure that out, budget, should we put a lot of money into this or that? Should we fix up downtown? Should we take a limited amount of money into child care, affordable child care? What should we do with our budget? What will be our priorities and our plan? Now, this is a very controversial subject, as you probably know. People have different pet projects, things they care about, and so on. Then you got city council people. They've got to fit into the mix as well. So when you have people sitting in a room together talking about these kinds of projects, it can get conflictive, let's put it that way, right? There can be a lot of people talking on top of each other. There's an extrovert, somebody particularly prestigious. They think they can stand up and dominate the room or the group or whatever. It goes on and on, right? Everybody knows this. Now, the answer to this question involves what I call high-tech research. High-tech research, it does require a facilitator, but there's a tool and a data-based system, high-tech system, and it's called Data Burst. Data Burst. One word, Data Burst. Now, how this works is this. You'll understand quickly why this is superior to the typical strategic planning session or whatever discussion workout. Essentially, everybody in the room that's going to participate, usually 10 or 15 people, by the way, they're going to be given handheld tools. Just a handheld thing. You've seen these before, I guess. And you get to push a button one way or another and so on. So when a question comes up, the facilitator will say, now we've talked about this, do you think we should have a crosswalk down in town in Papillion, or should we just leave it open? Tell me what you think on that. And if you like the idea, tell me how much you would pay for it. So everybody in the room, instead of blurting out their thoughts and questions, they'll go like this. Okay, yes, no, kind of, sort of, over 10,000, blah, 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 right? And then what happens with the Data Burst system is all this input is aggregated graphically on a big, beautiful video screen, and what you see are charts, right? Just charts, bar charts, and so on, that show what everybody really does, what the median thing is, and what people really do believe in the room, right? And this accelerates the conversation. Well, it appears obviously everybody agrees we should spend over $10,000 and we should have the crosswalk here in Papillion. Who should we hire to do it? We could do this, 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 or this. We know these guys. Tell me what your thoughts are about that. No more blurting out. Here are my 4 choices. Da, 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 da. I like this guy. Give him an A+, whatever. So not only does it create a consensus and everybody gets equal input. So there's no more, he's the big shot, so he gets to talk for 10 minutes. None of that is going on anymore. And the visualization is amazing. So with Data Burst, you can have more productive decisions, I call them consensus decisions, same diff, and you can get a lot more done much more rapidly. That's Data Burst, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it first here on WowBiz Nebraska. It's a heck of a way to go into 2024, have your plan, get your meeting pulled together, utilize Data Burst, and you will be amazed how smoothly, rapidly, and how concretely all the decisions come together. It's an amazing thing. Don't forget it. Look it up, and you'll be pleased. All right, All right. So here we are at WowBiz Nebraska. I mentioned to you earlier in the early part of the show, a gentleman named William Prentice, very well-respected scientist who actually figured out how advertising correlates to sales increases. And he studied it over 30 years. And he had 100 businesses that committed to participate in this over this length of time. It's amazing. Doing anything for 30 years is amazing, but a very credible thing. And here's what he said, all right, to boil it down. And I mean, I hope if there's one thing you listen to, it's what I'm going to say right now. Advertising that works, that actually bumps sales, 80% of the time it only works if you can say something that your competitors cannot say. That is not just not saying at this moment, but cannot say, that wouldn't fit with their culture or their brand or their font or their style or any of their product features or whatever. You have to come up with something that only you can say. Now that's 80% of the time. 20% of the time, you can go ahead and utilize what I call generic sales promotion tactics of one sort or another. In other words, blah, 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 we're really great, we have this thing, and then 25% off if you mention this ad and call in and purchase the product. Something like that. Now, here's the deal again. Any of your competitors could do that. That's not exclusive. There's nothing wrong with doing it, but many, many companies in the internet era, and I'm speaking to you now, many people, I don't care about branding. None of that makes any difference to me. If I spend $100 on a Facebook ad, I want $200 in my pocket by the end of the week or the month or whatever. Wrong. What we've learned here is that brand loyalty is really strongly influenced by the right advertising message. So people go, oh yeah, just do it, man. I think I really should just do it. I've gained 20 pounds. I've been putting this off. I'm going to go back here. I heard this before, but I'm going to go buy some Nike shoes and start walking in the mornings about 6:30, and that'll be how I'll get started, and et cetera, et cetera. Now, there are many examples of how brand loyalty is cultivated by clever, singular, differentiating advertising. This answers a big question. Like I said before, there's a lot of money being spent on Google ads, Facebook ads, and a lot of other Instagram, so on. And some of them are great, but they're insecure and inefficient. Here's our new thing. It costs this. Call now. Week later, pull that one. They didn't call enough. Well, they don't even know who you are, number one. Number two, they don't respect you. They don't even respect you. They don't even know whether or not you're going to ship the product, or if you're any good at it, or if there's some other category that's better, whatever. So it's not that the ad was poor. It's that you didn't do all these prerequisite things that lead up to an effective advertising and promotion message. Okay, so there you go with William Prentice. Very important thing to think about. Now, we're going to talk right now about a 3-word theme. By the way, I'm sure you know this. Most people know this. 3 words are the most powerful combination of words. Whatever you're saying, whatever you're thinking about doing, you want to sell somebody something, find a way to condense it into 3 words. 3 words. Now, if you go to the top of a website that we know something about, called newbraska.com, NEWBRASKA.com. When you get to the top of that, it'll be very different, very unusual. You're going to see 3, it's like a slogan, 3 different phrases, and I'm going to tell them to you right now. Stay hungry, stay foolish, stay free. Stay hungry, stay foolish, stay free. It's on the top of the website, newbraska.com, and you're going to learn why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would anybody care to look? They just want to know, can you solve my problem? Not really. So if you go to the newbraska.com site and you see this 3-phrase thing, it's so intriguing, and it's quite interesting art as well, kind of as a backdrop for those graphics and the text. Stay hungry, stay foolish, stay free. Let's explain that right now. But people say, what is this philosophy? right? It's like, I've never heard that before. Instead, it's like, buy our stuff, we're great, tell somebody. I mean, this is what you see in the world of advertising. We don't do that. We're looking for, when Nebraska's out there talking to people about membership or affiliation, they're looking for people who are going, I want to think about this. I want maybe a little bit deeper thinking, strategy, ecosystem. These are the kind of people that we're looking for. These are thought leaders. I got to use that phrase, that utilize that phrase. So stay hungry. Well, you know what stay hungry is? Stay hungry is when somebody is extremely successful, business owner, whatever. He built a business, software, whatever it is. It's so productive and financially remunerative right now. He barely goes into the office. He just calls in the investor guy, calls the general manager, everything's cool. He goes and golfs, right? This happens, all right? But so many of these guys or gals, regardless, they end up thinking, this isn't any fun anymore, right? I like to go out in the industry, go to the marketplace, go to trade shows, find some hot little product, build it up, buy it, collaborate with people. I want to be hungry. I want to do something, I want to rock and roll again. I know my product's great and that's good, and I want it to continue, but I want to do something special. I want to be hungry again. All right, so you get that. Now stay foolish. Warren Bennis, great guru, business guru, said years ago, he said, the reason why so many entrepreneurs do succeed is they don't know any better. They try to do something, some practice professional would say, that won't work. Nobody wants that. Nobody cares about that. But so many are naive and they say, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it 6 months. Somebody create a website, do a flyer. Let's see if we can sell it. Sometimes it works out great. Sometimes it works out great. People are going, I can't believe that is working. They did something foolish, something naive, something insightful, something exciting. There was a wow factor. I'm going to go on to that now. Stay free. Now this takes us into metaphysics, okay? Some of you know I'll go there quickly and easily. But the idea there is this. There will be these people that will scoff at you and say, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's starting over again, and blah, 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 whatever it is. And this feedback comes in at you. All right? It's almost like ammunition, like, right? And if you're connected to that, if you take it personally, if you hear all that feedback that's negative or neutral even, it ties you down, right? I can't do that because Harry said nobody will answer the phone if I say that. So then I got to try this. I don't know. You're not free. You're not free. You're in prison, mentally, emotionally. Eventually, it'll be financially. I promise you that. So the concept is stay detached. It's stoic, right? It's stoic. It's Hindu. Detach from all this external feedback and ideas and what about this and you shouldn't do that. Be free from all that and follow your intuition. And you have intuition. I used to do some groups. I would go to Scooter's coffee shops and I would, facilitate a group, small business people and so on. We had one day, I'll never forget it. And I said, let me ask you a question. Would you rather be into data and more precise and predictive analysis and all that? Would you really like to understand what data can do for you and your clients? Or would you rather be intuitive and have these great ideas and be inspired and have ideas that are so profound at that moment, right? You're going to say, that's it. I'm going to go do this now. I don't care if it doesn't work. I just know I have to do that. It's been planted inside of me. All right. You know what? I was so surprised. Everybody in that room, that discussion group and so on, every single one of them raised their hand and said, intuition. Now remember, this data is a big, big business, artificial intelligence. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. We're overwhelmed with technology. But do you know what people want? Business wants intuitive and imaginative workers and leaders. It's a very, very important point. Now, how do you get there, right? How do you get the innovation worked up and people thinking about cool things and I don't give a damn about that, I'm going to do this and this. I'm going to show you a little book right here real quick and then we'll wrap up. This is a book called Creating We. Very interesting book. really essentially about give up talking about yourself and focusing on yourself. Instead, focus on groups, connect with all kinds of people, get into the ecosystem thing, create interdependence, create a sense of team, T-E-A-M, create a sense of team. But, and it's a great book, by the way, you got to read it, Judith Glaser. But what happens is, and this is, we'll wrap up here, is that the boss leans over to the HR lady and says, make sure we need at least 10 or 15 more people that fit our culture, that, you know, they kind of fit in with the way we do things around here. Got it, boss. So she works, or he works overtime, and they, you know, finally they get together, cobble together some people, and they are indeed all hired, and they all are the kinds of people that this company considers its culture, you know. But here's the thing. That creates efficiency because of the sameness. Everybody gets each other. Well, I understand how you are. I like that too, right? But the problem is they can't innovate. They can't come up with any great ideas. They can't do anything new. And innovation is the highest profit margin, generates the highest profit margins in business altogether. So team is great, but if it lacks diversity, if there isn't different kinds of people from different backgrounds and so on, you're just going to keep on doing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. It's going to be efficient, could be profitable for a while. You're going to miss the boat, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to have diversity, which is the precursor to innovation, and innovation is where it's at in Nebraska. That's right, WowBiz Nebraska right here, and that is my final phrase to everybody. Innovation is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. That's where it's at, and that's my final comment here. Come see us again at WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. This is a good show. I really appreciate you watching us. Bye-bye.